Hey girl, hey! It's your girl Jamie Drew with the girlfriendexperience.org and jamiedrewart.com. I'm Biggity back with another show. Yes, get on in here, girl. It's the girlfriend experience. It's for us. And we have a special guest tonight. We have a special guest that's going to be in the building, chit-chatting with us and talking about the things that us girls talk about, right? So she is a special friend of mine. I've known her for, I don't even know, maybe 5 years now or something. We actually were modeling together on a project, but enough of that. We can talk about that when we get this girl in here with us. Let's chat with my girlfriend, Miss Tamica Staley.
Hello. Good evening.
Hello, everybody. I would love to introduce to you Miss Tammaka Staley of Talks with Tammaka and Yase LLC. Tell us about, elaborate, give us a little something. What is
Yes.
Yase? What is Talks with Tammaka?
All of the things. Well, I appreciate it. Hello, everybody out there. All of the girlfriends and beyond watching. I thank you, Jamie, for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you.
And Talks with Tamica is my performance art and speaking brand where I perform spoken word poetry, various events, conferences, schools, love elementary and high schools, and anything really. I also do workshops, writing workshops, artivism workshops, where basically I teach individuals, mostly teens, how to implement art in order to create social justice or to implement activism of some sort. So I do
Oh,
consider myself a spoken word artivist for that reason. So that is what I do under that brand. And I have a series called Talks with Tamica where I put out an episode every week, every beginning of every month. So the first week of every month, you will see a new episode of Talks with Tammaka. So
yes,
you'll catch
ma'am.
the episode for this week between today and Friday. So be
All
on the
right.
lookout for that. And with Yase LLC, which Yase stands for Youth Affirming Sex Education. That is my youth organization in which I provide comprehensive decolonized sex education to 12 to 19-year-olds. And basically, my mission is to provide these digital content and parent sessions and workshops on sex ed in order to promote healthy sex practices so all teens can have the tools that they need to affirm themselves in their communities. So, yes.
So I wanna, cause you hold on, you just triggering with me with just introducing yourself already.
Yes.
I heard you say decolonization
Mm-hmm.
of
Yeah.
sex practices. Can you run
Yeah.
that by me again, please? I want to
Yeah.
understand that.
So, comprehensive decolonized sex education for me is a sex education that teaches teens about sex and sexuality in the ways that are more African centered, that are more Black people centered, meaning I do not subscribe to a lot of the Western white ideologies around sex and our bodies when it comes to that. For example, that sex is only a thing between a man and a woman, or that you only can have sex when you're married and it's only valid and acceptable, and that sex is only for baby making. So those are like just a few examples of some Western
Okay.
ideologies that we've been, so to decolonize that, I don't teach those practices in my content. I do
Mhm.
teach that if that is your choice and you want to do that, then that's okay. If you want to wait to marriage, if you are man and woman and you're straight person, you're cisgender, that's fine, but that is not the standard. So I do not teach that as the standard as a way. So I teach that any gender and sexuality can enjoy sex, and that sex is pleasure focused, and that can be between any type of body, any type of ability, right? And it is affirming and can be healing in that way. And so that's the decolonized perspective, right? Yeah. So this is an example of what I mean when I say decolonize. And comprehensive is to really make it, like, break it down in a way that teens can understand, give it to them
Yeah.
straight and direct, to say, like, this is a vagina, this is what a phallus is, this is what an orgasm is, like really direct, explicit meanings to things when it comes to body parts and when it comes to other word. Like I said, orgasm. I never learned what an orgasm was in school. Like they don't teach
No.
those things, right?
They don't teach that at all. No,
Right.
ma'am.
So that's what I mean. Even when we talk about STDs, to be comprehensive in that way, to say not only what they are and like how it looks, but it's like, how do you catch an STD? How do you heal from an STD? You know, like things. So we've never really taught that. Like I've always seen pictures of certain sexual transmitted diseases when I was younger as a scare tactic, but nobody ever said, well, how do I get past that or overcome that if that were to happen to me? And if it does, it's okay. Like I'm not a bad person if I have an STD, you know, I'm not it's not the end of the world
They
or
show it
my
to
life.
like make it a shameful thing, like,
Right, you know, and they don't,
oh,
and then we're not
scared straight from having sex.
exactly, and we're not taught that people live happy, healthy lives with STDs. So that's the
Yeah.
comprehensive part of my work as well.
Wow. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So, what kind of buy-in are you getting from parents? Or because, I remember, like, when I was growing up, and I'm sure they still do this, but you have to sign like consent forms. Like, do you want your child to speak about sex? And I mean, it was very, I don't know, like out of the book, and they wanted to be done the proper way, but we weren't really learning anything. So what kind of buy-in or feedback or pushback, if any, are you getting from parents?
Yeah, I get a lot of good feedback and reception because I only present my work to organizations, individuals that I know are going to be receptive to it, and they're going to let me teach in my methods with the methodologies that I teach in, which is through that decolonized lens, a Black femmes lens, a LGBTQ plus lens, right? Those are like a lot of my values and perspectives in which I'm coming from. So if I know that it's an organization that's not going to allow me to do that, then I just don't align myself with them. So it's not a whole lot of pushback as far as my work. But when it comes to just being online, of course, there's pushback there because the Yase page is public. So, and it's not a lot, but every once in a while I'll get some DMs or comments, from parents that say that, it's a little bit too much, or it's, they're too young, things of that nature. But as far as me actually putting my work, facilitating and in person or even virtually when I teach something, I don't get that. But I know that I will once I actually start doing it in public schools, which is gonna be a long journey for me, but one that I'm gonna be up for because it's so many legal battles that I'll have to cross over in order to teach my type of content and teach the curriculum that I'm actually developing currently. And there will be like consent forms. And I have done that before where I haven't been the one to teach the sex ed workshop, but I worked for an organization a long time ago. And I actually got a sex educator to come in to facilitate. And they did have to have parent forms to sign. And a lot of parents did not allow their kids to come, which is why, like I said, I wouldn't even go to an organization that's going to have that, because it's like, well, then it's kind of defeating the purpose of me being here. If I'm only, going to get, and I think that, getting a select few kids is better than none, but it's like, I don't even want to, I personally don't want to be involved where I'm going to have a consent form to teach your child something that they obviously need to know,
and they're obviously learning anyway from some other source that you wouldn't be happy with in the first place.
Exactly. So I would say that most of my feedback is positive. Overwhelming majority of it is positive, and I don't deal in consent forms. And not to say that I wouldn't. Like I said, I know at some point I will have to dabble in that and overcome that battle, and that's a future thing, because I do plan to have my curriculum distributed in schools nationwide and have it for sale at some point, so that's like definitely in the works.
So is there some particular reason why you decided to focus on like, children or teens or whatever, because you have this bold message, right? It's daring. It's not like, anybody else, or well, at least not in public conversations. A lot of people aren't having the kind of conversations that you're having. Why not, give the message to adults? Why do you think it's so important to go with the kids?
Right. Well, I do have adult sex content as well on my Sex Formation Goddess page. Y'all follow me on Instagram.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make my a whole organization with specifically to teens, because I didn't have that as a teen until I was in 10th grade. And I met a woman who changed my life and gave me the information that nobody else was giving me, you know?
Mhm.
So, and yeah, her name was Miss India White. I will never forget her. And yeah, I just had a lot of questions about myself and about sex that just was not being answered. And I, she answered them for me, you know, and helped me out a lot. And even with meeting her, I only was with her for a few years, maybe 2 or 3 years. And after that, after I graduated high school, I lost touch. So I still was like, still on a journey, still figuring tons of stuff out, tons of questions. So, you know, but that kind of jump started my research to learn more. And I just fell in love with it and wanted to become a sex educator ever since I met her. So I was like, you know, I want to be somebody, Miss India, one day, you know, because I could think about like, she's
Yeah.
only one person. Like, imagine if I had multiple people in my life like this. And then what about the other team? Like my friends, they didn't have a Miss India, you know, like they didn't, you
Right.
know, have anybody. So yeah, that made me want to do that age range, 12 to 19.
Oh, Miss India, if you're watching, you
I know,
changed the
right?
life.
I need to find, like, I literally cannot find, I've been trying to find this lady for years, but I'm going to find her. So if y'all know India White, please let her know I'm looking for
You're trying to Facebook
her.
her.
Right. I'm like, I need to know her, know how she
Girl,
changed
you
my
can look
life.
her up on
Uh,
I'm nosy. I be looking people up on True People Search.
I,
Have you
I
ever seen
I have not seen that, but now that I know, because yeah, she was amazing, like
You might need to
amazing.
check that out. Yes, because you can
Yeah,
find her. You never
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yes. But it's so important, that I mean, I definitely agree with you starting with younger generations because that's where they're absorbing so many information and it's like the formative years of their life. I mean, I'm thinking about my own son who's 15 and I'm like, man, I'm kind of like you where I give it to him straight and, at his age, and I've been doing it for years, just in stages, giving him more and more of what I call the real deal. Because I'm like, you're gonna hear it from somewhere. You might as well hear the right information. So it's so important that you start these conversations early.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so do you think that is helpful? Because I know tonight, we're here. We want to really talk about traumas in particular and
Yeah.
things like that, and especially like surrounding sex and all of that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So I know you are the expert.
Yeah.
So do you think that, you starting the conversation is maybe preventing some traumas, or tell me what kind of impact that you think that, what you're doing is bringing to the table?
Yeah, I think that when you are starting to become aware of your traumas from past and present, and even kind of consider ones that you might have in the future, then it's a way that you can not only have better experiences just overall, but sexually as well. And I think that it creates a big impact, whether consciously or subconsciously. Like every experience that you go through in life makes some kind of impact somewhere else down the line, and it explains why we do the
Mhm.
things that we do, like why we say what we say, how we talk, how we walk, how we handle conflict, things of that nature. So yeah, it's important. And I feel like the biggest thing for me that I want to encourage people and I always push back on is to not like run away from the fact that they've been traumatized by something, and not give so much credit to the trauma too. Like, when you're coming out of that and healing from that, to like I always hear people say, oh, well, what didn't kill me made me stronger. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Did it? Or did it give you memory loss and make you withdraw and make you have control and possession and abandonment issues? Because that's what it did for me.
So,
So I don't know.
hold on. I want to dig a little deeper into that. So, you don't think like something that you go through in your life or a trauma, you don't think that makes you stronger?
No, absolutely not. I
Hmm.
no, I think that your own personal resilience may make you stronger. The support systems that come into
Yeah.
your life that find a way to build makes you stronger. The support services that you come across makes you stronger, like the therapies, the support groups that you may find, things of that nature. But I don't think that the experience itself is what made you strong. And I mean, and for me, it's not a lot of evidence of that. Like when people say that, and then I'm thinking about all the ways in which they've shown up, and I've experienced them in a negative way, and I'm like, well, I feel like your trauma did this, this, and this, because this is what I'm seeing. I think that's what it did. I don't think that's the thing that made you stronger. Maybe some other things, like I said, the support, the people around you, yourself, your own resilience. But yeah, not that thing that did, because that thing that didn't kill you is trauma, right? And I don't think that's enough to just say like, oh, I just didn't die from it. It's not. It's not enough to just not die.
Yeah, I've heard
at least
people
for
using
me.
that saying, but did you die? Have you heard that
Yeah,
one?
did you die
Yeah.
though? Yeah, and
Yeah.
also, so then I feel like for me it's a little bit of, because I'm like, it's not enough to just not die, but then sometimes it is. It's like sometimes surviving is just enough. I think I do think that there are those days where it's like, dang, if I ain't did nothing else today but just live, that's enough,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it is. It's an accomplishment, especially as a Black person, as a Black queer person, especially. Like I'm like, I just lived today. I did my job, but I think that when I think of a larger scope, and I know that I deserve better and I deserve, the absolute best out of life, then even though that was an accomplishment, it's still not enough for me, and I deserve more, and so that I want to get more from myself, and I deserve more, and I'm worthy of more, so I'm going to not harp so much on the fact that it was my trauma that got me here, like it was me, it was the things that I experienced, because, not dying is not where, like just simply not dying. Like I don't want that to be the story all the time. I don't want that to be my forever story. That
Be in survival mode.
Yeah, just being in survival mode. It's like when that time is here, I'm grateful, and it is an accomplishment. But I know that I want the rest of my life to be so much more than just surviving. Like I want to thrive and actually be happy and joyful, because I'm deserving of that. Like pleasure is my birthright. So it is our birthright.
Yeah, staying in that survival mode will just like keep you perpetuating the same thing. Like you'll have to keep surviving, and it's gonna put you in that mindset that that's all you can do is survive instead of thrive, and which really kind of holds you down. You know what I mean? Yeah. So okay then, because I was always a believer, I'm gonna be honest now, in what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, because I'm like, okay, you learn from the experience, and you may change certain behaviors, or you may be pushed in the direction of a mentor because of that. So do you think that negative experiences or trauma are still a necessary part of life? I mean, okay, if you reimagine this, right, where it's like, okay, trauma is not necessarily a good thing. Right. What is the thing that's going to get you, that's going to push you towards, that greatness, or what's going to be, you know what I'm saying? What's going to be that turning point if you don't experience what I call contrast?
Right? I get you, and I hear a lot of people say that, but I just don't think that it's necessary. Like a lot of shit. Can we cuss on that?
Girl, let's send the kids to bed. This is the girlfriend experience for grown folks only.
Like a lot of the shit that we experience, to be honest, it's just not necessary. Like, because we live in a world, in a country that's just designed for suffering, designed for certain people to suffer, for Black folks to suffer, for gay people to suffer, for poor people to suffer, and it is by design that happened, but it never had to happen. It don't got to happen. Right. Like poverty could be eradicated like yesterday. It's so many resources and wealth in the world for that to happen, and a lot of our trauma comes from that, come from poverty. I didn't grow up with money at all. My mom worked 2 and 3 jobs, we grew up in the hood. So definitely grateful, because I had 2-parent household. So that still was that privilege, even within the circumstance. Right. And definitely wasn't nearly as bad as some of my other friends' neighborhood. Like they was in the projects, it's levels to, poorness. It's levels, right? So yeah, but it just, we didn't have to be in that, you know what I'm saying? Like that wasn't a necessary thing to, and a lot of the things that we experienced wasn't necessary. It's just because of the world that we live in, that says this certain kind of people is deserving of these things and this certain kind of people isn't. So yeah, I
Mhm.
don't think that trauma has to be a thing in order to be a motivator, because if that was the case, then everybody that's had trauma would be this success story and have millions of,
That's true.
and that's not the case. Like those are the exceptions, like the people that made it from the bottom to the top, like those are the
Yeah.
exceptions of the world. And it's just not a lot of, it's not a tons, it's way more not exceptions than there are exceptions, right? So
That's true.
yeah,
That's true.
I think the motivator for people is just like, just their own wants. I think, like, not to say that that hasn't been a motivator for a lot of people, because it has. A lot of people that have been through stuff, they like, I want better for myself, for my kids, so I'm gonna grind, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. But it's like, did it have to be that? That didn't have to be a motivator. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't necessary.
Mhm.
It's just something that
Mhm.
happened because of the world that we live in. I think that people would have still had that same motivation had they not. They actually probably would have gotten to the success a lot sooner had they not had the trauma. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, they had to
Yeah.
go through a whole lot, and probably still, like, they not in the physical trauma no more that they was in. They might not be in the physical environment, but they got the car. They got a little bit more money now. They in a safe environment, but like mentally and spiritually, they still in survival mode. You know what I'm saying? Because of that trauma.
Mm.
And probably
Mhm.
has not had time to rest enough to unpack that, because they still having to produce to keep the success that they didn't now gotten to, right? So your trauma motivated you to get to the success, and now you got to keep grinding to keep the success, and you ain't had time to deal with the trauma. So it's like,
Oh, so you didn't really resolve the issue.
right. For a
Yeah.
lot of people, and I'm saying everybody, but a lot of people, that's what it is, because capitalism forces you to be a machine, to keep working. You
Oh,
got to keep that
girl.
success. You just got to keep working hard,
Girl,
So it's
you
like,
opening up so many cans of worms. Hold on. You
like,
about to go.
and yeah, it's a cycle. It's a cycle.
So what do you think? Okay, now what do you how do you think we should be talking about it instead? Or okay, don't embrace the trauma. Like, what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to shift and shape our mindsets?
Right. Well, I wouldn't say what you're supposed to, because I feel like
Mhm.
everybody has their journey, and what you're gonna do is what you're gonna do. It's, we all have choice. Like, that's the beautiful part of this life, is that most of a lot of times, I would say, we have choice. And I'm grateful for the days that I do get to choose. I get
Yeah.
to, and what I would say my offering is to you, to anybody out there, and of course you can do with it what you will, take what resonates, leave the rest, is to just focus on, like, what gives you joy, like, what makes you happy,
Mhm.
what is going to make you feel safe and seen and supported. Like, my good sis Kayla Millette says, safe, seen, and supported. That's her slogan that I have loved and embraced so much. Like, what is good,
Safe,
what is
seen, and
yeah,
supported.
yeah,
Okay.
what's gonna manifest that for you in your life, and I think, I lead with that, so that is my offering, to lead with that. What's gonna make you feel that way, or and also asking yourself questions. Like, I ask myself daily questions, like, what do I want my environment to look like when I come home? Like, what do I want to smell? What do I want to
Mm.
feel like? What do I want to see when I walk through the door at the end of the day? Or in the world, like when I walk outside in the beginning of the day, what do I want to see? What I want to feel? What I want to feel like? And try to do things that help to achieve that, and focus on things that achieve that.
Mhm.
And knowing that my trauma is not going to be a it's not going to help me to get there. If
Mm.
anything, it's going to be so much of a deterrent, and to know that I didn't deserve to go through that, and that it
Yeah.
wasn't my fault. But it is my responsibility, right, to manage it in the best way that I can, so that way I won't continue to internalize it or project it onto others. So I think that, yeah, so focusing on what you
Why do
want to
you
feel
why do
like,
you
yeah,
why do you think
yeah.
it is that we wear trauma, bad things that happen to us? Why do we wear it as a badge of honor?
Mm.
Like, how what is this?
Yeah, yeah, we do. Like this button that's on the side that we have on. We just That's the
Tell me
trauma.
about
I
that
brought it
button.
up. Yeah. Also, this just says ask me my pronouns. I got it from a
Okay.
organization. I think I was like a little street fair or something in an organization. OMSA, actually, this is an organization at USC. I forgot what it stands for. I think it stands for, I don't know. I know the M is multicultural. something association, OMSA, the OMSA. So they had this
Okay.
button as a way to just encourage people to ask people what their pronouns are and not assuming, so they won't misgender people.
Got
That's
it.
basically the basis. But yeah, I think that we wear it as a badge of honor. Like, it's just a conditioning. Like, we've been conditioned to, be these strong individuals, and I feel like we've been taught that if you tell people what you've been through and they see where you are now, they're like, it's like an impressive kind of thing, and it's
Yeah.
also a way to like condition other people who are in the place that you used to be in, that lower place, that bad place, whatever the case may be, that's not considered success. It's a way to condition them to say, well, if you just work hard and you can get here, so yeah,
Right.
I think it's it's just a capitalistic kind of mindset, to say,
Gosh.
you've been through something, but if I did it, you can do it too. And it's just a way to continue to get people to produce, for this to upkeep capitalism, to upkeep the rich being rich and keep the poor poor. Like, that's the thing. So if I'm
You
like,
are dropping some jewels on me. Hold on.
it's like, if I say that what didn't kill me make me stronger,
Yeah.
then that's gonna motivate you to do the same, and if you don't do it, then we'll shame you, and maybe that'll make you get up and be successful, so you can
Right.
keep our machine working, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I feel like that's where that stems from.
Wow, negative motivators, which we
Yeah,
know is not the best way to motivate.
not at all.
And
And
it's
not to say,
so
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's so like ingrained in our culture, like you were saying, like telling these stories, because immediately you started thinking about, all the people that have had these traumas in their lives that have come through it, and you kind of aspire to be like them. Like you said, if they can do it, I can do it too. And that's usually a motivator for me, like, oh, I see myself in this person, I can do it too. Like you think, oh, Steve Harvey used to be homeless and Oprah used to be molested. You think, that almost again like a badge of honor. They're not saying that, oh, it was something good, but it's like just like in church where you give a testimonial. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? So it's like
right,
interwoven into our culture where
right.
it's like, hey, this is our thing. This is how we operate.
Yeah,
Um, so I mean,
right.
especially we talked about this a little bit offline. Black women and girls,
Yeah.
and just traditionally marginalized groups are just expected to be strong anyway because of what we've been through, and
Right,
expected to be tougher, which
right.
doesn't even end up working out in our favor,
Hello.
because you get all you get all of these things like people in the hospitals, and they don't pay attention to our pain levels as much, because we're supposed to be the stronger people.
Right. Yeah. And because what
Yeah.
didn't kill us made us stronger. That's all kind of tied into each other. And I just
Yeah.
think that it's unfortunate, because it's like, then that just doesn't leave us any room to be weak when we need to,
Right.
or be, and
Mm.
not even, and I actually embrace the word weak. I feel like that's also been like associated in a negative way, like the word itself. But I think that, there are times where people really just feel weak with it. Sometimes mentally, sometimes spiritually, sometimes physically. Like, sometimes, like, you
Yeah.
just imagine if you've been carrying around a 10-pound brick all day, at the end of the day, your body is going to naturally just feel weak. Like,
Right.
it's just an adjective, but I think
Right.
it's been weaponized against Black women and girls to keep us, again, like, keep us moving, keep us keeping this machine going. And sometimes the machine is
Wow.
corporations, sometimes the machine is the family, sometimes the machine is a man. Most of the time, like our kids, like, always got to keep uplifted, uplifted, uplifted all the time. And it just doesn't leave us room to be vulnerable. It doesn't leave us room to rest. Which is also another thing that's demonized in our culture, is rest, because that's considered weak, and weak is considered a bad thing.
Right.
Like, you're not, and if you're weak, you're not worthy of success. You're not worthy of the good things, the joys, the going out, the nice cars and clothes, and I've even heard people say that you're not even worthy of having sex. You don't even deserve pleasure in that way if you're not
Oh my
successful.
goodness.
You're not successful and doing all these things and always producing and operating. you're just not worthy. And I think that really creates burnout for us. And like you said,
Yes.
physically a lot, we end up in a hospital because we're so stressed out,
Yes.
so burnt out from all of the, weights that we carry. And then you get to that space to get to the hospital, and then you're neglected even more, right? And a lot of
Right. And
us,
dismissed.
right, and a lot of us end up
Yeah.
dying because of it, like, so this whole mindset about holding on to our trauma so much and using it as a motivator, versus like really unpacking it and blaming the trauma and not ourselves for what
Yeah.
happened. I think it just it's leading to our demise, and that's just one example of like how it spirals into death for a lot of us. And
Right.
it's very, very unfortunate and sad, but I'm like, I am reclaiming all of my energy, and I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna reclaim mine too.
take me a nap. Okay, I'm gonna take me a nap. I ain't gonna be working 24/7. I'm not gonna be always grinding. I ain't sleeping, only sleeping when I'm dying. I'm sleep, okay, and I thank you.
Yes.
And I'm gonna still have my own level and measures and definition of success, because I'm deserving. As simple as that.
You know what? I think you were brought on here to send me a message today, girl, because I'm telling you, like, okay, how do we reshape the narrative? Okay, because I'm feeling you on this, because I was like, man, okay, but my traumas, it helped me to, know what I could deal with and move forward from there and everything. But you're right. I am ready to get to this place where I'm using a positive propeller instead of a negative one. So just like re-examining everything that I'm doing and everything that I'm thinking, because sometimes I go through these moments where I push so hard and I'm not getting enough sleep, and I'm like, oh, gotta do this, gotta do that, gotta do this, gotta do that to be successful. But the thing is, I'm doing all of this just so I can be to that place that you're talking about, of like how I'm trying to build my life.
Right.
And so I was, been reading and everything, and really it's time to step into that and just be that right now in this moment and continue that.
Right. Yeah.
You
And
know?
I love that you're saying this, stepping into that, right? And I see it as
Yeah.
stepping into our divinity, because
Yeah.
we just have not been even told that we're just deserving and just worthy. We just don't. And I think, and I also will say, in addition to that, it is a privilege to to be able to think that, right? And it's a privilege to be able to rest, right? And
Yeah.
unfortunately we just don't get it most of the time, which is why, because I do it myself. I neglect my sleep sometimes. I neglect eating at certain times. Now I'm gonna eat that, but somehow I might push it off a little later.
Yeah.
And it's because we just have not been afforded the privilege to be able to do that, right? We don't have the luxury to just be able to not think so much about all of the stuff that's going on in the world, all the stuff that we have to handle, because it's just at our doorstep every day, right? So, I will say that it's a privilege to do that, and I get why, but I also want to push us, right, and encourage us to try to make some kind of space to resist that and find time for ourselves to get that rest, even if it's just 5 minutes to just relax and to just switch the mindset. Even if you don't even have the time to actually put it into action, start trying to shift in your mindset. So when you do, work up to that place where you can just rest and just leave it all out on the table, that you're actually deserving of it. When you do reach the success, that peak, wherever you're trying to get. Because like I said, a lot of people are there, but they still don't take advantage in it because they don't know that they're deserving to be able to just relax and be able to, say no and create boundaries for people to make space for themselves, and make space to unpack that trauma, right? So that way they can continue to thrive spiritually and emotionally just as much as they are materialistically, right? So yeah, I think that is what would be my offering on how to shift the narrative, is to just start by just knowing that you're deserving of that rest, and you're deserving of joy and happiness, outside of the labor, like you're more than the labor that you can produce, you're more than the labor, that your body can give. Your body is more deserving of the labor, more deserving than the labor that it gives. So yeah.
Oh my goodness. I mean, it almost seems counterproductive, right? Because you hear
Mm,
all these terms like sleep is the cousin of death and
right. Yeah.
you
Sleep when you're
know
dead. And it was
you got
wild that you brought
you
up.
you got the same 24 hours in a day that
Yeah,
Beyonce
say
does. And you're
right.
like,
And it's
oh,
like, well, I might got the same 24 hours, but I ain't got the same resources. I ain't got the same staff. And it's a lot. And I even, it was wild that you said Steve Harvey earlier, because I immediately thought about a clip that I seen from him that was very detrimental, in my opinion, to
mm,
our community as Black folks, like, um, I get up, the stock market open up at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. or something like that. And I'm like, sir, you don't know that Black people is up at that time? A lot of us who are either entrepreneurs or people that work, they're sanitation workers, like
yeah.
we up. A lot of people are up, but it's like we up, and then like we don't have no time to actually take a vacation. You don't got a PTO,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? So it's like, and people do that and work hard and work hard and work hard and still don't reach that peak. Like they're still not going to be a Steve Harvey. It's some people that will literally never get to that point, and it's not
Yeah.
because they didn't work hard enough. It's just that the way that the world is designed to continue to prevent them to get there. So like literally, no matter how much you work, I think that's just a misconception and really just a lie that capitalism
Mhm.
has fed us. So like, if you just work hard enough, you can do it. I'm like, no, not really. It's just not gonna happen for all of us. It's not. It's
Right.
just
It
literally
can't. It's
and that's another.
impossible.
I was just saying, like, it literally cannot. Like, it would just not exist. Like, you would not be a Steve Harvey if there wasn't somebody that was a janitor. Like, they're never going to be able to get
Mhm.
to where you are because you're where you are. Like, that's just not the design of the system that we're in. Literally, it's
Mhm.
just impossible, you know. And so I think to continue to tell people that and make them believe that, not only is it intellectually dishonest, but it's harmful because they're working themselves to death to just never be able to get to where you are. And that's where they're aspiring. So instead, it's like, do the work that you can do, and then take your ass to bed. Go lay down.
Mhm.
Go spend time with your kids. You know,
Yeah.
go breathe with them and go up to their school when if you have time. But as I said, luxury. Some people just don't even have that amount of time to do that. But when you can, do that. Don't be worried about trying to put something in some kind of stock market and doing, all this extra stuff because you're trying to reach some very false level of success by white supremacy standards. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I just want to encourage people to invest your time in a way that you see fit, and not based on like these really wild, dishonest perceptions about what success and who can be rich, and and who can't, because it's like literally it's not going to be most of us. It just
Yeah.
can't happen. Yeah.
So I'm hearing you. It sounds like you're saying that we need to bring honor to certain like jobs and
Yeah.
careers, whatever that don't traditionally receive a bunch of praise. And I
Right.
think we really learned that like over the pandemic that
Mm-hmm.
certain people, the essential workers,
Right.
and everybody that we really needed, we needed to
Right.
bring honor to those jobs and perhaps people can aspire to be doing those things and aspire to not work so hard and
Right.
just aspire to be happy in their normal and everyday lives and,
Yeah.
and see success in a different way.
Right. Exactly. And it's
Yeah.
so wild that it took a pandemic for us to honor essential workers, and then we still ain't even really honoring them because minimum wage is still 7.25. So it's like,
Yeah.
we made a
Yeah.
whole campaign about
That's the work
heroes
to
in the
do.
pandemic. Like, I just was so annoyed by a lot of organizations. Oh, these are our heroes, our essential workers, and I'm like, but they getting paid $10.25. Like, still not living.
Mhm.
Really, 15 even really ain't enough. To be honest, if you want to keep it real, these nats are so annoying. 15 really is not even enough. It's
Yeah, because you have
barely.
to have a living, you be able to live.
Exactly.
And so
And
you
yeah,
won't be constantly in survival
survival
mode.
mode, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that, yeah, it definitely needs to be a mind shift to pay homage to and be respected of all types of jobs, right? The janitor, the sex worker too. Come on, let's cause that's the occupation.
Because they're there.
It's the occupation, honey.
Yeah.
Okay. And really not only respect it like in mentality and socially, but monetarily too, to pour in funding for those types of jobs because they exist and they feed their families and trying to achieve some type of success and joy too, just like the rest of us. So yeah.
So much, so
Yeah.
much. So, okay. You mentioned sex workers and things like that. In your
Mm-hmm.
experience, do even those types of jobs, don't they come from traumatic experiences, or
Mm-hmm.
people get pushed into them because of traumatic experiences, or they create traumatic experiences?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me a little bit about the balance between honoring the sex worker
Mm-hmm.
and supporting what happened to the sex worker to push them there.
Right. Well, I think that I think yes and no, because I think that's a misconception that some type of traumatic experience brought them to sex work. Not to
Okay.
say that it does not happen, because it does. It
Mm.
absolutely. But like I said, I think traumatic experiences push a lot of people to where they are, like as we talked about before, that being the motivator to whatever. But yeah, I don't think that's definitely not the case for every sex. Actually, most of the sex workers that I know, that is not the case. Like,
Mm.
they started off just being very interested in sex, like I am, as a sex educator.
Right.
I've always been fascinated with sex and sexuality, and have dabbled in sex work myself, in the past. So it's like, yeah, I don't think that the two are mutually inclusive.
Okay.
So, and it definitely can be something like a personal choice based on interest, right? And even if it was something that was out of force or out of human trafficking, and those things can sometimes overlap and coincide.
Yeah.
I think that it's something that, again, you just have to address it in a way that can still allow you to be in that and in that field in a way that is honoring to yourself and your boundaries and to your body. And I think that there are folks who have had sexual trauma or have had experiences where they've been forced into that, and now they have come to a point where they just enjoy it on their own merit. They've dealt with the
Mm-hmm.
traumatic part of it, about what introduced them to it, but have stayed and continue to make a great living for themselves because they've enjoyed it and they've unpacked a lot of the stigmas around sex and sexuality that might have brought them into it. Yeah, but the two aren't necessarily always intertwined with each other.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you can't drop the ball that you dabbled in sex work without elaborating, girl.
Yes.
Wait
Yeah.
a minute. So
It's a little dabble.
yeah.
Mm.
So what are you comfortable with sharing about that experience?
I'll share a little. I'm gonna save the rest for my book, my tell all, at some point in life.
Ooh, I can't wait.
I don't know when, but
Get
I feel like
that.
every sex educator has like a tell all, and I'm very
Yeah.
dramatic, so I feel like I should have one at one point. But yeah, I was maybe I want to say 23, 24, yeah, and I'll be 28 this year, so I think maybe 22, 23, 24, around that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I met a sex worker on Facebook, and I just seen like she just was, and at that point, of course, I was already into sex education. I was doing a lot of
Mm-hmm.
sexuality work, da, da, da. But more so on the academic front with teens, so it wasn't, and it's even though it's in the same field, it's not exactly the same. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I just seen how happy she was. She was making a little money on the side, and then at some point she really blew up with it, and it was like paying for her whole rent with sex work and partner
Wow.
with sex work. So I was like, I'm trying to get on. But she was doing, and then I think when people think about sex work, they just think like 1980s prostitutions, like you on the
Mm-hmm.
streets, like a street, and I embrace all
Mm-hmm.
these terms. Hooker, streetwalker, those are like terms that I embrace. They're not negative terms to me. I reclaim those. And that's just like the terminology that we call, but I like to say sex worker. I don't say prostitute, but like I said, don't find anything wrong with that, in
Mm-hmm.
context that you're not trying to say it in a negative way. So yeah,
Got
they
you.
think that, like a John in a car on a curb, which it could be that sex work could definitely be that,
But that's not everybody's
it's not
experience. There's
right.
so many
It's so
different
many
types
different
of sex
ways,
work. Yeah.
right, that it can show up, right, and it has evolved over time. So, the woman that I met, she was doing camming on like a site, where she'd be in front of a camera and she'd have like an audience. Usually it's like older men, and they would pay her to, do, and then she had her own little channel, so she would do just different things in front of the camera, and she'd get like a payout, like maybe the end of the day, the end of the week, something like that.
Yeah.
But it was through a site, and I was like, well, I don't know if I want to do that because I'm still in school, and somebody tried to find it. Like, what if one of my professors is on there?
Right.
So I didn't do that. She kind of taught me other ways to do that, like getting private clients and just like sending videos through like your inbox, something like that. Or like on, like the Instagram messages, it fades away. So little stuff like that. So that's like what I was, or nudes, like I would sell nudes and stuff like that too. So just different people that I knew. And that was like a real small clientele, like one or two guys here, maybe one or two there. Because I was like still nervous about it. So I was like, I didn't want to like go full on. So I always said I was part-time. I was like part-time on the side.
Yeah.
But it was fine, I made a little change,
made a little coin.
Made a little change. But I stopped after a while though, just because I don't know. I think I was just nervous, and I didn't know. I was learning, but I didn't know a whole much. And then I was consumed with, like I said, school, other stuff going on. So I was like, didn't have a whole lot of time for it at the time. But yeah, so that's
okay. That's cool. I mean, you're right. There's so many different ways that you can. I mean, you could be selling feet pictures. That could be
it is
sex work. People don't think about it. Yeah, like
I mean, a lot of people on OnlyFans are that's
right.
was a popular thing when OnlyFans first came out, and it still is.
Right. Right.
And even before OnlyFans, like people have always sold feet pics. I've done feet pics too. Like people love feet pics, and I never thought I had cute feet. Literally before I started doing sex work, I never thought I had cute feet. I always thought
somebody let you know.
Horrible. Oh yeah. Another story for another day. But yeah,
I was gonna say it makes you think.
You will learn that anybody can definitely sell feet pics.
Yeah.
So get your coin.
I love it. I love how open you are, and it would be great if more people could express themselves openly and unapologetically. And the way that you present, it doesn't sound as jarring the way that you put things. It's like, I guess that's the educator in you. It's like so matter of fact. Yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is. I mean, and I think if we took time to, like I said, unlearn the stigmas around sex and sexuality, it would be like this all the time. Coming from anybody, not even because I have a privilege as a sex educator, that people receive certain messages from me in a way that they wouldn't with someone who is a sex worker, right? And like I said, even though I get some pushback, I think that the messages is definitely received a lot differently for that. But I feel like once we start to take away all of these stigmas, to think that, if you're a stripper or you're a sex worker or you're doing anything sexual for money, like that means you don't have morals or that you're nasty. Yeah. Because I think that's like the stigma attached to it. But if we took that away, it would just be regular conversation. Because it's really just regular conversation. And I think that the more we do that, it will become less jarring to hear people talk about that. And or that I've even heard people say, well, they probably they're not a good parent and they can't be around kids. Like you would be surprised at how many people think that people who are into sex work are like deviant and like pedophiles. I've even heard people think that, and the same thing with queer folks. Like there's a big like paranoia and fear about LGBTQ people being around children, because we associate anything to do with sexuality or to be about sex in itself, and that's not always the case. Even for sex workers, it's like sex workers aren't doing sexual things all the time,
right.
And it's like a lot of them are moms or dads or parents, like it's okay. They'll be fine, You smoking cigarettes around your kids is more dangerous than them being around a sex worker.
That's okay. True.
I'm not gonna judge you though. We gonna work on it.
You're just making a point.
I actually am judging you a little bit. I'm gonna judge you a little bit, but we gonna work through it. We gonna unpack it. It's a journey, It's a journey. It's okay. Yeah.
So, okay. So you're out here educating the masses,
Out
educating
here.
the world, not just children, teens, young adults,
Mm-hmm.
everybody
Everybody. All of
about
them.
everybody
Mm-hmm.
about reshaping the conversation about
Mm-hmm.
sex, about trauma, about
Right.
sexual trauma,
Right.
about
Right.
being a Black person, women and
Mm-hmm.
girls, about
Right.
being a queer person,
Right.
LGBTQ plus community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What, because I want to wrap up here. I don't want to take up all your time all night because, when I talk to you, I just,
Well,
oh,
you know how we do.
that's what I was
We
getting
go
ready to
in.
say. You just make me think of so many things that I want to bring up that's just even off topic, girl.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, what is your main thing? What is your main takeaway that you want people to understand? You want people to get through, what is the main takeaway from tonight from, all of the things that we have kind of touched on?
Yeah. My main thing that I want to leave with people and to offer them is to create your own rules. Create your own boundaries for your life about, what is acceptable and what is not, or, what is valid and what is not, what is good. Like create your own, you don't have to live by other people's perceptions of what is normal, and things of that nature, right? I always embrace the model of unlearning, relearning, and recreating norms. So that's like my little slogan that I always. So yeah, find
Yes.
ways to do that, to unlearn, because everything that you've been taught might not work for you. Most of
Right.
us, everything that a lot of you have the right and ability to leave and throw away and disconnect yourself from whatever does not align with you at this moment, like where you are now. You're not the person that you used to be, and don't ever let anyone try to take you back to that. And
Right.
you don't have to continue to live by those rules, right? You can do what makes you feel safe, seen, and supported, right?
Yes.
Like
Okay. You dropping some stuff on me. I love it. I
yes,
love safe,
Kayla
seen, and
Millette, yes.
supported.
If y'all look
Kayla
her up,
Millette.
Kayla Millette, Mallet, Kayla Millette. Yes, safe, seen, and
Yes.
supported.
I
So
love
yeah,
that.
that is my offering to people, and that could be with whatever. When it comes to a job choice, when it comes to sexuality, when it comes to romance, when it comes to anything, raising your kids. Like do what makes you what you feel like is going to make the best possible you and give you the best life where you are thriving and not just surviving. So yeah.
Oh, I love it. That was the best ever. We got safe, seen, and supported with
Yeah.
Kayla Millette.
Mm-hmm.
Tamika Staley says, unlearn, relearn, and
And
recreate.
recreate.
I
Yes.
absolutely love that. You have left me with a couple of jewels, baby. I
Yes.
appreciate you. Please, before
Oh,
we get out of here, let the people know
yes.
where they can find you, where they can see you, what they have to look forward to, more from you. Spill it all.
Yes. So you can find me and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Talks with Tamica. And that's how my name is spelled at the bottom, Tamm, aka Talks with Tamica. And like I said, the first week of every month is usually a Wednesday. First Wednesday every month, you can see an episode of Talks with Tamica where I talk about a numerous of issues, social justice, activism related issues related to race and gender and sexuality, all of the things. Sometimes it's going to be real educational. Sometimes it's going to be a read. It might. It's actually going to be a little bit of both. It's going to be an
Okay.
educational read most of the time when it comes to all things social justice, race, gender, sexuality. So yes, and you can also catch me on Instagram at Yase__LLC. That is my youth organization, and www.yasellc.org. That's YASELLC.org. So yeah.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you so much for spending some time with me tonight. We
Thank
will
you.
reconnect again, girl, on the
Absolutely.
next project, the next collaboration, the next conversation where you can get me together mentally.
Yes.
Hopefully I can help you with something too.
Oh no, you can, girl. I'm just feeding off your energy, your beautiful art. I hope it, and I know that it's going to continue to flourish. And
Yes.
I would love. We got to do like a paint session or something one day, like
Yes.
painting
Yes.
poetry, painting
Yes.
poems.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
Yes.
living for
I'm
this.
with
So
it. I'm with
what
it.
to look forward to, y'all, is a collab from me and Jamie. We're gonna do a
That's
painting
right.
poem show. I'm gonna put it into the universe that we're gonna do a painting
Yes.
poems showcase one of these
I
days.
love it.
So yes, and I appreciate you, sis, so much for having me. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you, Tammaka. All right, you guys, that is it. That is all we have. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And until next time, peace and blessings. Love you guys.
Start it up.